Hello, welcome to another YouTube Live. How are you? How are you today? Welcome. Today is a very special message, a very important message, and this is something that is so important. I've talked about these 4 levels in terms of goal setting, and today I want to apply them to how we live life, how we show up in life, and how we go about our day-to-day experiences in life, how we interact with ourselves, with others, and the experiences that we're in life. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining. And also, as with all of the lives, like if you have any questions, if you have any specific topics that you want for me to cover, that you want me to talk about, then just pop them in the comment section. And I always look at all of the messages, and many people send me private messages, but you can also put them public as well. And this is something that I pay attention to, as many of these live classes are based on what people want and what people are asking for, just like the previous classes. So thank you so much for joining me today on this beautiful day, wherever you are. And maybe you're watching the replay, so maybe it's a morning, nighttime. At the moment, here is a beautiful sunny day here in Catalonia near Barcelona, and the sun has been shining, and it's in the evening time, early evening time. So in today's online class, in today's session, we're going to talk about 4 levels. So 4 levels, how we can show up and connect with ourselves, how we can go about goal setting, though what I'm talking about today is specifically on like how we can see like how we're experiencing life, how we're going about life, how we're connecting to life. So the first level is the physical, and these are in no particular order, and maybe some people might say that there are more levels, but these are like 4 main key levels that I see and that I feel that are important. And again, there's no particular order. So the first level is the physical. So how are we showing up in life physically? Like, are we paying attention to the physicality of life? Are we paying attention to how we feel? The senses, like through our body, like are we noticing everything in terms of the senses in this human experience, like as we're going about our day-to-day life? I mean, obviously, we're not going to be there 100% every single second looking at this from this perspective, because sometimes we're connected to the mental side of things or the emotional or other aspects. Though the physicality, how often and how present are we with that? So paying attention to the senses, like what do we feel? What sensations do we notice as we're going through our day-to-day life? Are we present with that, like the feelings, the sensations? Not so much the emotional, but the sensations. So as we're walking down the street, are we aware of the temperature of the air against our skin? Are we aware of feeling the sunshine against our face? Are we aware of feeling the breeze in our hair? Are we aware of the smells as well? Or are we aware of what we're seeing, the different colors, the different shapes, the light and shadow? So everything that comes in through our senses, because there's so much information coming in through our senses, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we smell, what we taste. Are we paying attention to what we taste? Like when we eat food, are we just like gobbling it down and not really paying attention? Or are we actually being mindful with that? So mindfulness is a huge component in this. Are we mindful with that? Slowing down and really tasting the food and being present with that. And when we slow down, when we're present with this is when we're turning up the dial on experiencing the magic in life. We're turning up the dial, and we're increasing everything even more, and we're able to connect to those, what I call the little big things in life. those important things that they're like the little things, but they're really the big things. That's where we find the magic. Like that's where we wake up to the magic in life. So it's noticing that, slowing down, being present, bringing that mindfulness and connecting to our senses, and living and experiencing life through our senses, like the physicality of it. Like, what do we hear? Are we aware of the sounds? Are we aware of the difference in sounds? Like just the other day, I was on the beach and I was talking with someone, and they were talking about how like the sound of the sea was bouncing back off the rocks, and it was almost creating this like surround sound experience. So there are so many different experiences in them. When we slow down, when we pay attention to it, we can pick up on all of these things, these wonderful things that bring life, that bring spark, that bring energy, that bring this sense of joy and satisfaction and fulfillment to life, to the life experience. So that's the physicality of it. Like, are we aware of our senses, our physical body as we're going through our day-to-day life? Or are we only living from up here, up in the head? Are we just walking heads? Or are we like really embodied, like in the experience, connected to the breath, connected to the sound of the exhale, connected to the movement of our body as we're walking down the street? Are we aware of our body moving? Are we aware of our feet on the ground, like within our shoes, or whether we're walking barefoot? Like, are we aware of that and paying attention to the sensation of our feet on the ground? Noticing that, like slowing down, bring that mindfulness to that, paying attention to that. That's where the magic lies. So that's on one level, the physical side of things. Now we can experience life on an emotional level as well. We're human beings, we have emotions. There are like so many different flavors and colors, and like it's like a whole rainbow, or like all of the notes on a piano. Like you've got the white keys, the black keys, you've got everything. They're all the different notes there, the rainbow, all the different colors, and then within that you've got the spectrum of all of the different shades and tones of that color. So it's like the emotions as well. We don't just have sad, happy. There's like everything else in between. We've got angry, and even just within anger, there's a whole spectrum within that. You've got like mild irritation, and then like full-blown rage, where you just like you just want to like scream and shout. There's like within sadness, there can be like a little bit of like just like feeling down and feeling a little bit low, and then you can have full-on grief as well, like just like deep sadness. That there's so many different layers to that, and so many different ways we can experience emotions. And living life paying attention to the emotions can be really interesting. So it's not to get caught up in them and lose ourselves in them, it's to witness them as energy moving through us. I mean, hence the name in English, emotion, emotion, energy in motion. Everything in this world is made up of space, vibrating particles, vibrations, frequencies, energy, consciousness. Like there's this whole other world beyond just what we might consider the physical, like the solid matter. But there's everything else there beyond that we might not see. The motion of anger, but we can see how it moves someone, how it is being expressed in someone when they allow themselves to express that. We can see the result of that energy emotion. So the emotions are really like when we live life paying attention to the emotions, we can really see emotions as this wonderful gauge, as this wonderful, almost like a thermometer, like this, or this, yeah, like this gauge. It's giving us an indication of the quality of our thoughts, like what we've been thinking about, because so much of what we think about and what we're focused on in terms of the thoughts and the beliefs has a knock-on effect on how we feel. Mind-body connection. And within that wheel of the mind-body connection, those of you who have been to my classes, I put it all in a wheel format. And there are many different points within that. So it's not just mind-body, you've got all the points within that. And a big part of that is the emotions. The emotions. So what we're thinking about, what we're believing has a knock-on effect on how we feel and the emotions that are there. Our lifestyle, the actions, the body posture, everything that we're doing with our physical body has a knock-on effect on how we feel also. So when certain emotions come up, they're like messengers, they're like doors opening up, and they can give us an insight into, what have I just been thinking about? What have I been focused on? Or how have I been living? Like how am I living my life? Am I moving my body? Am I allowing myself to create space for that energy emotion to move through me? Or am I holding on to it? Am I stuck in some ways? Because when an emotion comes up, it's a messenger. It's like knocking on the door and giving a little message, and it's inviting us to connect to something. Like when we allow it to move through us, to move through us, it's an invitation to something else. Fear invites us to connect with courage. Sadness invites us to connect with connection and deep understanding. Anger invites us to connect with passion. There's an invitation there. So by paying attention to the emotions as we go through life, we can learn about ourselves. We can learn about like ourselves on many different levels, like where we are right now, but then also our past as well. Like much of it also can come from our, what we call the inner child, that younger self within, perhaps the part within that gets triggered when someone speaks in a certain tone or something happens in a relationship or in a situation. And then that can trigger emotions as well. So we can learn a lot about ourselves thanks to these emotions. And as we pay attention to this in life, it's giving us an extra layer. Like all of these different levels that we live life through, like all together, create this incredible, wonderful, it's almost like a 360 surround sound, like ultimate cinematic experience. It's like we have all the levels there. We have all the sensations, like the physicality of it, and then we also have the emotions, and then I'll go into the other levels in a moment. But it just adds to the experience. And when we're aware of these levels and we pay attention to these levels and we interact with these different levels in a way that we're open to the experience and we can learn from it and make the most of the experiences, then everything just becomes this wonderful playground. Like this human experience that we're in is like a playground. Like we're here to play and experiment and learn and grow and evolve from that. So, of course, there's so much more that could be said on that, and there's so many different perspectives and different ways of seeing it. But I just like to keep things as simple as possible and just keeping it really simple. 4 levels. We've talked about the first, like the physicality, talked about the emotions as well, like how the emotions can really bring life to this human experience. Like if we didn't feel emotions, like where would be the music? Where would be the songs? Where would be the poetry? Where would be the art? Where would be the films? Where would be the books? Where would be all of that? it wouldn't be there, because emotions are fuel for creativity. Emotions are this wonderful energy emotion that flows through us, and then us as human beings, we can channel that and create something amazing when we allow that to move through us in a constructive way. If I didn't feel, I wouldn't paint what I paint behind me, like these paintings. Like, if I didn't feel anything, these paintings wouldn't exist. The emotions are the fuel, and when we connect with emotions in life, that just brings so much color, brings color to life. So the third level, and again, these are not in order, there's no particular order. The third level I want to talk about is the mental. So living life through our awareness and our consciousness and the mind. Like, we have this incredible tool between our ears. We have this incredible tool here that we can use to our advantage. Now, the problem is that many people live according to what the mind says, rather than seeing it as a tool to use. So rather than living from the heart and the soul and seeing, oh, I have a mind that what I place its attention on can amplify things. When I place my focus and attention on something, it can help it grow. I can create something amazing. Often people get caught up in the mind and live there and go round and around with all those repeating stories, because so much of what we think about is repeated, repeated, repeated. It goes in this loop, all the worries and the doubts and the fears and blah, 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 and to-do lists and this and that and the other. So many people live up there and they forget about the physicality. They forget about the physical body. They forget to live life through the physical. Or they're so much up in the mind, so much up in the logical, that they forget about the emotions, that they forget that they have emotions, and that they don't really see emotions as important, that they prefer the logical side of things. But that's missing a whole experience in this human experience. That's missing so much when we don't pay attention to the physical experience and the sensations, when we don't pay attention to the emotions that we feel. It's everything together that creates this human experience. This human experience is a gift, And when we're living just through one level, we're living a disconnected life. We're not living a wholehearted life. And it's not about getting it perfect. It's not about having to live at all levels all the time and that do everything perfect. No, of course not. We're human beings. There'll be moments where we are caught up in the mind, or we are get caught up with all the emotions and we feel lost with that. Or there are times where we're so in the physical that we forget the other levels. But in all of those moments, like when we recognize that we've been caught up in there, so we're caught up in the mind, for example, and when we realize that we're caught up there, then becomes that light bulb moment. Like when we're aware of that, oh, I've just been focused too much on up in the mind and I've lost touch with my physical body. That's a spark of light right there. It's like a light bulb just goes off. And then we're like, okay, yes, I have a physical body too. Okay, perhaps I can go for a walk, I can dance, I can move. Or, oh, yes, I have emotions too. Perhaps I can pay attention to emotions. Perhaps I can find a constructive, creative outlet for those emotions. I can paint, I can sing, I can dance, I can draw, I can write, whatever it is, whatever works for you, because everyone's different. There are so many different ways, and that's the beauty of this experience, that there's so much variety, there's so much flavor, there's so much opportunity for exploration. And it's in that exploration, it's getting into the experience at all these different levels that we wake up to the magic of life. We wake up and we start living. We wake up. I spent many years being caught up in the mind. And there's still times that sometimes, because my mind is very strong, and still times where I'm caught up there and I'm focused on, oh, I need to do this, I should do that. Like the mind loves to give lots of orders and has like huge lists and is very ambitious and driven and knows exactly what it wants to do. But then the physical body perhaps takes a little longer to achieve things. Or perhaps the emotional body is not quite ready yet. Like the emotions, they're like, there's something else that needs to be worked through. So yes, this was one of my biggest challenges, like working with the mind and just being like really being aware of all the other parts of me, like being aware of what my physical body needs and being aware of the physical experience in life, like grounding myself. Like this has been one of the biggest practices. This is why dance has been such a huge thing for me, to really come back into the body and not get so caught up in the mind. Going for walks, like walking barefoot, dancing barefoot, like helps to come back into the here and now, helps to bring everything down. So it was a combination of everything, because the mind is so powerful, and it's an incredible experience. Like when, like for example, many years ago, I did a fire walk. And those of you who don't know what a fire walk is when you walk barefoot over hot coals. So they're like hot. They've got literally coals that you would have with a barbecue. They're super hot. And there were 2 meters of hot coals, and I walked barefoot over them. No burns whatsoever. Now, please do not do this unless you're working with trained professionals, unless it's an official training or course where there are professionals there. This is not to do something at home. Try yourself. Don't do that. But the thing that got us through that was the mind, the mindset, and using our mind as this tool. That according to what we're focused on, what we're thinking about, how we're choosing to see things. I mean, this is very much to do with NLP, and this is what I've spent 10 years working with. It's the mind, like what the mind is capable of is incredible. And then you have that experience where you're so focused and you're so determined and you're so like, yes, okay, I'm going to have this experience and it's going to be like this, and this is the outcome that I want. And of course, there's much more to it, but that's like the main thing. The mindset is super strong. And then you can have incredible experiences when you walk over hot coals and you don't experience any burns at all. Now, again, please don't do this unless you're working with a professional. This is something to do with a trained professional. Those experiences like that where you're like, wow, yeah, the mind is really powerful. And I can use it as this incredible tool to experience amazing things in this life, to be conscious and aware of the expansiveness and the limitless of who we are and this whole life, this human life that we're living. Though it's being mindful of those repeated stories, those repeated negative beliefs about ourselves or about others or about life or about the world. It's very easy to get caught up in those. I've certainly done that myself as well. Like, oh, the world is fill in the blank, or other people are fill in the blank, or I am fill in the blank. Sometimes there can be negative beliefs there. And when we're holding on to those and we're repeating those, that has a knock-on effect on how we feel and how we experience this life. So it's not to say that we bypass experiences and that we don't ever have challenges anymore. Of course not. This human experience, this whole planet is about duality, about polarities. It's about experiencing everything on the spectrum. So there will be experiences that are challenging. And this is the beauty of the mind, that we can ask ourselves opening questions. We can really choose how we see things. How we see things determines how we experience things. And again, it's not about bypassing. It's about, yes, here's a challenge. This is difficult. I'm acknowledging the emotions. I'm in the experience. I'm present with it. And I'm choosing to see the gift also. I'm choosing to recognize the opportunity. I'm choosing to ask myself questions like, how is life inviting me to expand right now? How is life inviting me to expand right now? So obviously there's so much more that I could cover in terms of the mind. That's like what I've spent so long like talking about the last 10 years and really diving into that with NLP as an NLP trainer, that this is something that I've spent a long time working with and studying and working with clients to do with mind. So just noticing, like, how are we living? Like, are we using our mind as a tool to generate like greater focus and awareness and open-mindedness in this human experience? Or are we getting stuck in thought patterns, like repeated thought patterns? Or are we only living life through the logical mind and only choosing to experience this human experience through the logical mind, therefore missing much of the magic that lies within the intuition, within the emotions, within all of those non-tangible things, with those non-logical things. Emotions are not logical, yet there's so much beauty and so much wisdom that can come from emotions. And then the final level that I want to talk about is the spiritual. So some people can call this the energetic. Obviously, like, really, like, the energetic goes into all of them because everything is made up of energy and space. So the energetic comes into the physical, it's just a slower vibration. Energetic comes into the emotions, but it's a slightly faster vibration compared to the physical, but it's still slower compared to the mind. Though in terms of this level, I call it the spiritual because it's when we're living life with this awareness of this greater thing, whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want to place on it, this life that connects all life, that's within everything, this intelligence, this consciousness, this greater collective consciousness, this spark of, like, this greater spark of light that is part of, like, we're all little sparks of this greater spark. There's a wonderful quote by Robert Schwartz, and he talks about it as if, like, it's one beating heart of this being, and we're all cells of that beating heart. Like, we're all connected, we're all part of the same thing. We're all individual within that, yet we're all part of this collective. So opening up our awareness to that, and those of you who are very logical and like logical minded, this might be like, yeah, not really my thing. Fine, that's totally fine. Like, really, I really encourage you to live life for you and how you want to live life and what's important for you, what resonates for you. Though I offer you an invitation right now, an invitation to, just for a moment, consider, if you were to consider this level, this spiritual level, and that we're all connected in some way Maybe we don't really know all the answers yet, but there's something there that connects everything and everyone, this life. If you were open to that, just for a moment, I wonder what would change, what you would notice, what you would experience. When we open up to life in this level, that it brings this whole other dimension to the human experience, that we are human beings, human being, human beings. So we got the being part, there's the human part, so with the physical, the emotions, and there's the being. Whatever that is that brings this breath of life to us when we're first born to then when we die. The breath is constantly there. And it's coming back to that breath. I mean, this is a huge thing that I talk about in creating change. This is one of the things that I focus on the most. And it's so simple, yet so powerful. And the logical mind might be like, yeah, I know this, I've heard this before. Yes, just, yeah, the breath, yeah, whatever. Come back to the breath. Come back to the breath. That's life right there. Notice the breath in other people. That's life right there. Look at yourself in the mirror. See those blinking eyes back at you. That's life right there. When you connect with someone else, look into their eyes and see their eyes blinking back at you. That's life right there. It's coming back to that. Yes, of course, there's so many theories and so many things, especially in the spiritual community. Oh my goodness, that sometimes it can just be too much, that it just goes into all these theories and practices, and oh, you have to pray this way and you have to do it that way and you have to do no, just come back to the simplicity. Come back to the life. Yes, of course, if one particular practice resonates with you and you really gain a lot from that, then by all means explore that. There are so many different practices and theories and perspectives out there within the spiritual realm that ultimately is all back to the same thing. And when we just come back to the simplicity of it, it's through the simplicity that we let go of the overwhelm. It's through the simplicity where we're able to release a lot of stress. It's through the simplicity that we're like, "Ah, actually, perhaps life is not so bad." There's much more to this, and I actually have a podcast episode which is called "When We Feel Like Giving Up." I will link it in the description of this class. When we feel like giving up, there's many things that we can do, but that coming back to that life is important. And I give a really powerful metaphor in that podcast episode. So I really do encourage you to go and listen to that after this. It's coming back to the simplicity and remembering who we are. This being having a human experience in this human experience, along with many others, and we're all walking the same path. We're all on this crazy planet together. And it's coming back to that. So when we open up our mind, when we open up our eyes, when we open up our heart to this level, the spiritual level, and being aware of our soul, like, well, whatever label you choose to place on that, I tend to call it the soul. So it's that the soul is like the flavor of that life. So we all have life within us. That's part of this greater collective consciousness. Yet each one's unique. Each person has come here with particular things that they want to experience in this human experience. So it's like we're all different flavors of the same thing, but we're all unique at the same time. It's coming back to that, living life from that, remembering that, as we move through life, living life for our soul, as well as the like paying attention to the mind and emotions and the physical. Like when we set goals, like I have another podcast episode which is about the 4 levels of goal setting. So it's talking about these levels connected to goal setting. Like, oh, I want a new house, or I want a partner, or I want more money, or I want whatever it is, fill in the blank. Are we listening deep down to our soul? Are we listening deep down to how we truly want to live at the deepest level? Like, what's really important? Like, why are we here? What have we come here to do? And if you don't know, that's okay. We're not meant to know everything. We're not meant to have it all sorted. But at the very least, like, do not ignore those intuitive messages. Do not ignore what that deeper underlying desire is. If you've always wanted to sing, or you've always wanted to paint, or you've always wanted to, I don't know, set up a cafe, or if you've always wanted to live life simply and live in a little eco hut, or if you've always wanted to be part of a big community, or if you've always wanted to travel and visit certain places, yet the mind has been giving excuses, or the emotions have come in with the fear, don't allow that to stop you living according to the soul. So this is a gentle reminder to live life for you at all of these different levels, and notice how, as you do this, as you connect to the physical experience, as you pay attention to the emotions, as you use your mind as this incredible tool that you have, and you're aware of your heart and soul, all of that combined creates this incredible human experience that has depth, that has flavor, that brings fulfillment. And if you're feeling disconnect at any level, if you're feeling a bit like fed up and things are not working how you want them to work, or you're feeling a bit defeated or deflated, notice if any of those levels you've been missing them, or avoiding it, or not paying attention to it. These levels can be this wonderful guidance system, like this wonderful guide as we move through life, and just to remember, oh yes, I'm going to come back to the breath. Oh yes, I'm going to pay attention to my senses. Oh yes, I'm going to express my emotions. Oh yes, when I'm talking to another, I'm going to remember that they're a mirror. They're a mirror of me. I'm a mirror of them, that we're all part of the same. So yeah, big topic today. Big topic today, and I'm just checking if there's anything else I wanted to share on this. I feel I've shared most of it. Yeah, if you're, in terms of the spiritual, like if you're not really quite sure like what you're like, oh, I know I've come here for something, or I'm not really sure what my soul wants or what I'm here to experience. Above all, like, the most important purpose for any human being in this planet is simply just to play in this human experience and learn, grow, and evolve from that human experience. Like, that's the ultimate purpose. Then sometimes people can have these particular missions, like some people have come here to be incredible humanitarians, like other people have come here to be incredible artists. Like there can be also parallel paths along that first main path of playing and learning, growing, evolving in this human experience. Though if you want to uncover a little bit more about who you are in terms of like on a soul level, there are many different things out there that can help, that can bring insight, like astrology, numerology, human design, Enneagram, like all the Enneagram's more about personality, but there can be a spiritual component to that. There are all these things, and some people might resonate with one, some people might resonate with another. Find what works for you. For me personally, numerology is my go-to, and that's what I use a lot with clients as well. And numerology is amazing. Like, we can draw up so much information just from the date of birth and our name. Like, it's incredible. And whenever I've done a chart for people and I go through all the information, it's literally like a page of numbers, and every single number represents something and brings some significance. People are like, wow, like, this is so true. Like, this really makes sense. Now I have things clear why that's important to me, and why I struggle with that, and why that's a challenge for me, or why that relationship has been difficult, or why this relationship has been working really well. Like, it just brings clarity on so many different levels. So if you're interested in that, you can find information in the description of this video. I include it as part of the one-on-one session. So by all means, get in contact if that's something you want to explore further and have your full birth chart drawn up, and we go into everything in depth. There are so many numbers. It's not just, sometimes people think the numerology is just the life path number and it's just one number and that's who you are for everything. No, you literally have a whole page of numbers. There's so much in there, and we're this beautiful, unique combination of that, and that can bring so much insight into who we are and why we're here and what we've come here to do on a soul level. And yeah, so just a few final things for this class. I wanted to mention that on Saturday, the 13th of May, so if you're watching the replay after this, that if it's gone past that date, then maybe there's another workshop, because there's always things that I'm bringing out. Though if you're watching this within the time frame, Saturday the 13th of May in Villanova i Geltrú, which is like a short train journey from Barcelona, I'm doing an in-depth, in-person workshop, 3 hours, and it's going to be so much fun. We're going to really dive into who we are. It's called Awaken to the Magic of You, and we're going to dive into who we are at all of these different levels. And we're going to start clearing away some of those masks that we might have picked up on. So some of those beliefs about who we are, like identities that we've pulled, like acquired along the way, like through our childhood, but they're not really ours and they're not really authentically us. We're going to work on those and move through those, like open up to new experiences and seeing ourselves in, like, with a new light, like really see ourselves with new eyes. So there'll be a mixture of dance, creative arts, and NLP. So this is what I call creating change, is the blend of all of those. And creating change is a wonderful way to really create change at an embodied level. So it's not just working on the mind, which is super powerful. We work physically also. So we move the body, we work physically, we dance, we move. And no prior experience is necessary for this. Like, can be absolute beginner. I've had absolute beginners and also people who are very experienced, and they both love the workshops, like those different groups of people. It's open to everyone and everyone can benefit from this. So it's, yeah, really noticing, like, when I move the body, how does that affect the emotions? When I move the body, how does that affect my thinking? And coming back to the physical as well. And through the creative arts is a wonderful way where we can really create a great sense of well-being when we're working with color, when we're allowing those emotions to move through us in a creative way. And again, you don't need to be a super artist to attend this workshop. It's open to everyone. So yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. And there's going to be a main focus on seeing ourselves with new eyes and like really waking up to the magic of who we are and boosting confidence like really feeling good about ourselves and boosting confidence and feeling more confident about ourselves and more self-assured, reducing anxiety, reducing overwhelm, and reducing stress. So we'll do all of that. And so I invite you to come to this workshop. It's going to be a lot of fun. Those of you who are not in Villanova, but you live nearby, perhaps you're in Barcelona, then it's a wonderful, wonderful town where you can make a day trip of it. There's beautiful beaches, wonderful forests nearby. So by all means, come to the workshop and then enjoy the rest of the afternoon on the beach in this beautiful place that we have here. And if you're watching further afield, if you're not in the area, but you're interested in this stuff, then do get in contact for one-on-one sessions that I tailor make the sessions to you. And sometimes there are online classes as well. Well, like these weekly ones, but sometimes I do in-depth workshops as well. So to be the first to hear about that, then do check out the link that's in the description of this video, and you can see the link for the newsletter. And that newsletter sign up form, you can find out more information about that. And I send out an email about once a month. I don't spam. It's literally like once a month because I don't like to send lots and lots of emails, and that's where I share a few more personal shares, and everyone who's on the list receives that, as well as channeled expansions messages and hearing about latest news and events. So that's all there for you. So that is pretty much everything. I think this is probably one of the longest classes I've done, one of the longest YouTube lives. I set the intention this year to start doing YouTube lives every week. And here we are, 1st of May already. Can you believe it? So thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone who watches the replays. I really appreciate you doing that. And if you found this class useful, if you found some of the information in this beneficial, then please share this far and wide. I really feel that this is a message that everyone can benefit from. So remembering those 4 levels and connecting to life with those 4 levels. And when we do that, we awaken up even more to the magic of life, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual. Thank you so much for watching. Wishing you a wonderful evening or morning or day, wherever you are, whenever you're listening. Much love to you, and thank you for being you.